Welcome to But Jesus Drank Wine.
And other stories that kept us stuck. I'm Mead.
And I'm Christy.
And in this podcast, we'll explore the stories that kept us, well, stuck, wanting to drink and not wanting to drink all at the same time.
Join us as we show you that freedom from alcohol does not have to mean a life sentence of misery and missing out,
but actually means living an authentic life full of peace, joy, and purpose.
Hello, my beautiful friend. It is Christy here. I am so excited to announce a very, very special gift that I am offering all gals who pre-order my book, Love Life Sober, a 40-day alcohol fast. I am going to be personally coaching you through this book for 6 weeks, starting September 30th in the But Jesus Drink Wine community. When you pre-order the book, you'll get a special invitation to join us for free for 3 months. That's a $72 value. Every single Monday, I'm going to coach you through this book so that you don't have to do this alone. That was the whole reason I wanted to write this book, is so that you wouldn't feel alone. You'll be able to gather with a group of like-minded women every single Monday, starting September 30th when you pre-order the book. There's a link in the show notes, and at that link, you'll find a place to pre-order the book, and you'll find a link to jump into the community for 3 months for free, which includes 6 weeks of coaching with yours truly through the book, Love Life Sober, a 40-day alcohol fast. I cannot wait to meet you. Now, here's this week's episode. Happy Monday, beautiful friends. Yay! We are so blessed to have our new friend, Amy, in the studio today. Amy Betters-Midtvedt is a Today Parenting contributing author with more than 1 million readers and 25 years of experience working with adolescents and families. In both her job as a literacy and her personal life, where she and her husband Todd wrangle their 5 kids. She has a master's degree in leadership, curriculum, and instruction. That sounds awesome. And began her writing journey when she launched her website in 2016. She's appeared in a bunch of publications, including the Huffington Post, Parents Magazine, and Your Teen Magazine. And today we are going to talk about her brand new book, which I'm so excited to talk about. You'll make it, and they will too. Everything no one talks about when you're parenting teens. So I found Amy as a standard on Instagram, and I started liking her things and doing the thing where I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. Oh my gosh, that's so true. And then I saw your book coming out, and then I was like, oh my gosh, she's a waterwork author too. We're in the same family, and we have the same publicist, which is so exciting. And so you are in the middle of doing all the things, all the promotions, all the marketing for your book, which comes out August 6th. Is that right?
August 6th. Yep, that's right.
That is so exciting. Well, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited to connect with you. It was just like the most fun little moment. And to be able to go down through your things and then feel like, oh my gosh, I love your stuff too. And then we just make this great connection. So wonderful.
Yeah. And can I connect us real quick?
Yeah.
My husband's name is Todd too.
Oh, okay.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
That's wonderful though, because my husband's really into Todd. Like the name Todd, he has a Facebook page that your husband can join. It's just for Todd.
Stop it.
I am not even kidding you. I'm not even kidding you. I'll hook you up with a link.
This is amazing.
And he even made t-shirts that all have different Todd sayings on them. Yeah.
Stop it. Why is the carpet all wet, Todd? Do y'all use that in your house? Why is the carpet all wet, Todd? No. Yep.
What's that from?
This is a big suspicion.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Side note. I just join in the fun here. Okay, ladies.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
You guys, I'm very menopausal sweating into my coffee here. So this is going to be fun. My face is wet from sweat. Okay, Amy, tell us about how you started writing about all the things and then what led you to write this book, which we all need to read immediately.
I hope so. I think you do, for real. So I started my writing journey when my oldest was 14 but my youngest was 4. So there's 5 and there's a 10-year span between these kiddos.
Wow.
And, right? My very first viral piece was a piece called I Already Miss Her. And I do not lack the drama. So I wrote this sitting at my kitchen table one night, and my 14-year-old was suddenly doing all these things. Right? It was all of a sudden I realized it's not really 18 years, it's kind of 14. And they start really starting to fly a little bit. And I felt like I already missed her. And I just sat and
I
just
just want to,
cried.
I just want to cry at the title. I feel it.
It
I
is
feel
a
it.
thing. It is a thing, right? Like she's in my house and I already miss her. And that kind of started this journey of I write about all the things. I write about parenting, I write about education, I write about marriage, I write about faith, all sorts of different things. Like I haven't always been a very niche kind of an author that just like picks one lane. My if you go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, it's really just all about my whole life. But at that point, this parenting teens, I felt there was so many things out there about parenting littles, but that one really struck a chord because at that point we hadn't been talking a lot about parenting teens. I developed this really soft spot for this population of human. Kind of along the same lines, my career, I got moved up to the intermediate and the middle school, you guys. And I started working in a middle school, which had been terrifying to me prior. And I love them, right? I just love and adore them. So as my kids entered these years, that my students did as well. And I found myself just surrounded by this really unique population. And I just felt so drawn to all the really amazing things about them, while also just being deeply reflective on the fact I had no idea what I was doing to parent them. It was rough.
I love that so much. And so that piece went viral, you said?
It
And
was
then,
my very
yeah,
first big piece. So exciting.
when that kind of like got the kind of traction and attention, did you decide, okay, I'm going to lean into writing about it? And then how long between that post and then the book?
Oh, I mean 9 years. So
Oh, okay.
it's been long. Like that, I think, what it did was really just show me people really wanted to talk about that. So I continue that kind of content among all my other content. And then a few years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, as I was talking with some dear writer friends, and we kind of have these community times where we talk about what we're going to do next. They were all sort of entering this space, and I was a little ahead of them. And I had a bunch of book ideas, and they're like, "Nope, the teen book, Amy. Can you just write the teen book so we can stop texting you, or we can stop, we have all these questions and we're always talking about them. Can you put this in a book? I think everybody has these questions." And it was remarkably easy to write. I came in way over words because there were so many things that people were asking in our writing community, my writer friends, my larger community. Every time I found myself writing about teens, those were the pieces that I felt people really connected to. And I got a lot of messages like behind the Facebook wall, in my DMs. People were like, "I don't want to ask this outside of this, but here's what's happening in my house and it's really hard. Like, can you say something about this?" So really that need I felt was out there for people to have really that companion, because so often we don't want to say it out loud. We want to say it behind the wall. And I really picture this book as being like in the middle of the night when you have nobody to talk to about this burning thing about your teenager. And you feel like you cannot share it with the world. I want you to be able to grab my book and just go to that chapter and be like, "Oh my gosh, this happened to somebody else too, and they made it through." Right?
Yeah.
So that was really my goal in writing this.
What were some of the behind the wall questions that you were like shocked by or surprised by, or maybe not? Maybe nothing is shocking, right? Because we're all going through it.
I think especially having 5 kids, there's few ways you could shock me at this point.
Right.
Don't take that as a challenge if any of my kids can hear me say that right now. I really we're good. And my youngest just turned 14 though, so he's just entering the space. But I do think I really was surprised at how many people, the surprising how many people had really lonely kids. Sometimes I felt that was the only thing that was something that was happening maybe more specifically in my sphere. The amount of kids that were really struggling with addiction, all sorts of different kinds, a lot of struggles with parents who just felt, I think this is probably the biggest one, an inability to connect with their kids. They felt just very lost. Like, I can't get them to listen to me. Like, I know what's going on and I can't get them to listen to me. Of course, social media was a big thing because I'm a faith-based faith to a lot of parents, really a lot of questions about how do I get my kids to still go to church with me? My kids are abandoning their faith. It really ran the gamut, and if you kind of even look, like, sometimes the chapters of my book sort of represent a lot of those categories where I heard a lot of need or a lot of just pain from parents or questions or wonderings.
Yeah. What an amazing resource this is going to be. What an amazing resource. I'd love to just ask what kind of your experience and how you touch on it in the book then about because I think that connection one is a big one. So I have Ella who's 14, Carter who's 12, and I have noticed it with Carter 12. And we
Mhm.
recently went away, and it was actually for a school choir trip for Ella, but I was just with Chris and Carter.
Yep.
And so it was just kind of us, and we hadn't done that ever.
Right.
And even if it was like just, a couple days, he said at the end of that trip, he's like, Mom, we bonded on this trip. And I was like, we totally did. And I think it was because there was no Fortnite. There wasn't a lot of him on his phone. We were just kind of like doing things and being together. And it felt so good. And immediately after that trip, I was like, I want to figure out how to replicate that more. Yeah, tell us, talk to us. How do we do that?
Yes, absolutely. Connection really is the theme that runs through every chapter of this book. It is what we are parenting for connection all the time.
Mhm.
And that rests in so many small moments and also big ones like you're talking about. That's an awesome example. But it becomes a little bit more tenuous sometimes to get that connection, to get that time away sometimes, or to get them to buy in. And what I found is that in the small moments, when I was making these decisions about how to parent them, I was either parenting toward a connection or away from a connection. We don't always have those big moments that we can lean into. We can get so much traction just in those little ones. So every single time, and I made so many mistakes. In the book, I talked about my first pancake. That's my 14-year-old, now 24-year-old. I leaned into really trying to get her to stay in a lane, right? I was parenting to try and keep her grades up, to make sure she's a choir kid. Like she was doing what she wanted to do with that she was keeping all of her ducks in a row instead of always parenting for that connection. So sometimes that looked like if things went off the rails, I was doing a lot more punishing than I was listening. I was doing more grounding than I was talking to her through it. That's where I really switched my philosophy in every way that I possibly can. I'm a human being, so sometimes I just do stop and yell for a hot second and then have to say I'm sorry. Um, but in every second that I can, I'm thinking about how is this going to connect us together for the long term? I want a
Yeah.
relationship with these people for their whole entire lives, world without end. Amen. Right? So what can I do now and today? So sometimes it might be something little like together. My kids just love this for sure. By the way, like we bought a family subscription to Masterclass and we all turn off our things
I love that.
and we all do our master class. And sometimes it's the same one, sometimes it's different ones. And then we kind of talk about it. So it's learning together, right? And for our family, that's a fun thing to do. But some families like, doing sports, going out swimming in the pool, whatever it is, crafting that time right in your home, right? Where Fortnite goes away, phones go away. And we have those moments. And that's when things are good. And then when things go off the rails and you're just like in the weeds, it is stopping to say, okay, what I really want to do is just yell at you and say, how on earth did you think this was a good idea? This is the dumbest thing I ever saw him do. And instead, we're saying, help me understand you right now where you are. I'm just going to listen and really leaning in and thinking about how can I stay connected to you in this moment. All those little collections of moments are what lead to that feeling of connection throughout all of their teen years.
I love how you describe that with your oldest. And because I can relate to that so much. And so much I was unaware for so long that my parenting was driven from a place of fear and trying to control. Right. And I don't know at what point I realized that that wasn't really working anymore. I mean, it
Right.
certainly came after finding freedom from alcohol. I was awake and, my eyes were wide open to everything after that. But I'm curious for you if there was like a moment that when did that shift for you? Was it a subsequent child? Because my oldest will be like, you parent the baby a lot differently than you parent me. And I'm like, no, I'm really sorry. Like, but yeah, how did that shift for you?
1,000%. My oldest was a big challenge, and it actually happened with her. And there was a specific moment she had really tested all the things throughout her whole life. They are who they are, right? When they're two, right? Like I used to have to ask, do you want to walk up to bed or do you want me to carry you? And if I didn't say that, it was a meltdown, right? So you were picturing it, we were set up for success there in the teen years, 100%. So, when she continued to be who she was and I continued to be who I was, doing just
Mhm.
exactly what you said, parenting from fear. I was so afraid
Yeah.
as I watched her, not come home. And when she said she was going to be home, there was a huge one that I write about in the book where she said she was at a friend's house and was sleeping at some national park on a cliff. Oh, yeah. And her friend luckily posted about it on Facebook the next day. So I was super excited. Thank you, Facebook. But I was filled with fear. Like, what is this person doing? And when I attempted to ground her from that, she simply said, "Great. I've been looking for an opportunity to work more on my art." That was her response to me. So
I
that was
love it.
probably the first time I realized I wasn't going to win if we were going to do a battle of the wells. She was going to go farther for me and do
Yeah.
more things I didn't want her to do. And what I was doing was completely ineffective. So I needed to find another way. I think that was my first inkling, right? That I needed to move forward in a different way. I think another part of that was also realizing I remember another time when she did something else, another crazy move, that I was just really yelling at her and I watched her body language just go down. Like she just felt like I need to get away from this person. I was actively hurting her with my words and I wasn't helping her make better choices. Seeing those impacts, like actually watching her reaction and seeing the impact on her, made me realize this kid is probably going to leave our house and never want to come back here. And I don't blame her because who would ever want to come hang out with a mom that is just like grounding you for large portions of time and then randomly yelling at you and really just reinforcing like that you're not smart enough to make your choices. So it was that first pancake, that first kid. In retrospect, so thankful for what a challenge she was because I learned so much from her that let me know I needed to do something different. It took me some time to figure out what that something was because she continued to challenge us along the way. And I had to learn to parent her from a place of God has her. He loves her more than you do, Amy. Like he is calling her home right now. Like he is trying to connect with her. Like it's going to be okay. She has to make these mistakes and all I can do is provide the proper guardrails and then help her when things go awry. I can't figure out how to keep those mistakes from her path, but I can be there when they happen. And if I stay connected to her when they do happen, she has a soft place to land. She has someone to call. She's not going to take one mistake and make it into a second and a third mistake. Instead, she's going to be able to not be afraid to call us and say that this has happened or that has happened. And that really proved true. I had done some damage, so it took a few years really for us to come to a place of actual healing in our relationship where she could trust my reaction and I could trust my reaction and I could also trust her. So it was a long road.
Responding to the heartfelt requests from you, our wonderful, wonderful listeners, for a deeper sense of community, we are so excited to introduce y'all to the But Jesus Drink Wine community.
Get ready to be part of an exclusive experience where you'll join a sisterhood of kindred spirits on a transformative journey of faith, sobriety, and personal growth.
You'll gain access to our private community, a place where deep connections can flourish among women who share your aspirations of strengthening faith in Christ and breaking free from alcohol.
But wait, there's more. We'll host regular connection calls to facilitate fellowship with like-minded gals, no matter where you stand on your alcohol or faith journey. Whether you're seasoned or just curious, you are very warmly welcomed here.
Prepare to be inspired by guest expert sessions and engaging Q&As that explore the essential topics for your sobriety, faith, and holistic wellness journey.
Don't miss out on securing your spot. Click the link in the show notes to learn more.
We can't wait to see your beautiful face in the But Jesus Drank Wine community.
How do you, what would your advice be? Well, I want to know for me, actually, personally. So when I'm in that place, right, where I'm like, I want to fly off the handle and go bananas because of the actions, like, what is your advice to me?
Breathe. Always breathe.
Yeah.
I often say a little prayer
Yeah.
too, like God just let my words be your words because I have no good words right now. And then entering the space with curiosity. The amount of times my kids have said to me, it just seemed like a good idea at the time are endless, like times that by 1,000, right? Because their frontal lobes are not functioning. We're like ours, right? They're not adult frontal lobes. They're risk-taking experimental frontal lobes. And a lot of times they're just as shocked as we are. If we're yelling and accusing, they're going to double down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's so good.
But if we're curious, sometimes we can get them to say, like, I thought it was a good idea. And I kind of get it now. Or, can you see can you see what happened here? Here's kind of what I'm seeing. Here's what you're seeing. What do you think should happen next? Like, I don't know what to do after your third speeding ticket, son. I'm at a loss. Like, what do you think should happen? Because these are the real world repercussions. As your parents, what do you think we should do? oh, they're smart people. You've parented them well to this point, and you can fall into that as well. They're going to say a lot of things that are just what you would have said, or
Mhm.
sometimes they're harder on themselves than you might have been. They have good
Yeah.
ideas. They have good suggestions about what it is they should do and what those repercussions should be. Sometimes it is just saying they don't need another repercussion. They've just gotten themselves here, and that's called a life consequence. And now you're going to just deal with your life consequence. And I'm here to talk about how much it stinks. I'm here to walk with you through that really hard thing. But now that's your really hard thing. You didn't sign up for
Yeah.
your classes and you don't have the classes you want. That is a real big bummer. I understand that you're sad. I can't fix it, but I can listen. So it is just letting those natural consequences roll out and staying calm. You are a rock of calmness. You had no stake in this game. And then later on, you hide upstairs and you yell to whoever you can, like, I cannot actually believe my child did. This
Yeah.
is,
That's when I box their meat and be like,
yeah,
babe, you'll never believe what just happened.
1000%. You
Yeah.
have to get it out. And sometimes you have to get it out. If it's something big, sometimes like the whole on the, like at being at this park thing, like that wasn't like, if that, if she would have been in my sphere of space in that moment, I didn't necessarily have the capacity at that point to just be like, well, now it's your natural consequence. Fortunately, she was still gone. And I had some time to be like, I called my mom, what? What would you have done to me? You would have killed me. And she's real calm as a grandparent to be able to say, no, listen, we all make mistakes. Chill me out so that you can, give yourself a timeout if you have to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So this week I got a letter. My kids are at sleepaway camp, and I got a letter from Ella that she had lost her top retainer. She wrote in this letter, "Mom, please don't be mad. I lost my top retainer. I looked everywhere. I cried. I'm so sorry." And like, I think that if had just been told in person, like as she got off the bus, I lost my retainer, that would have been completely different than having this space of like reading the letter. Because I read the letter and then I cried and I was like, oh, babe, it's okay. Like, we'll get a new retainer. Life will go on. But I think like for me, it was just exactly what you just said. This example of like creating the space, seeing it for what it is, and
Absolutely.
and not flying off the handle. Yeah.
No, and remembering they're human people. Like I'm a lucky winner of Invisalign right now. And this has humbled me to my children's orthodontics
Yeah.
situations. Because
Uh-huh.
every once in a while, I always call my teeth. I'm like, oh God, I can't find my teeth. I am just like them. We are all just human people. The amount of times that I have goofed up on this
Yeah.
planet and still at the age of 50, I'm continuing to make mistakes. I want people to have grace for me. I think sometimes we place this expectation on our teenagers too, like they're just supposed to be getting all this stuff right the first time
Yeah.
as this like
Yeah.
sign of maturity. So, of course they're going to do weird things like drive off, take their bike helmet off and put it on their whatever. So they don't have to have their bike helmet on like their friends. And we find out how many times do we do weird things to fit in with our friends? How many times do we still sometimes do those weird things? So
Mhm.
remembering we are all human people finding our way and they should get an extra pass at being human, really like a little
Mhm.
extra grace because it's their first time here. They're years younger than us.
Yeah.
If we haven't gotten it right yet, it is wildly unrealistic to expect that they are going to.
Well, and if their brains aren't fully developed until
Yeah,
they're in their mid to late 20s, then
correct.
like we make mistakes all the time and our brains are fully developed. So how can we expect them to
Right.
get it right? I will say I have found in parenting that the more I work on my perfectionism, the more I work on my hustle, the more
Mhm.
I work on my all of my tendencies that have kept me stuck over the years, the better I am at being able to not expect perfection or not expect all of that from them. And I think that's something that I know we have conversations about. It's so relatable to people. And it's one of those things where I'm like, as much as I want to like try and control my kids, there's always just like this moment of like humbling and putting back to myself and going, oh wait, me, like the best way to parent my kids is actually to kind of parent myself in a way first and work on
Yeah.
that stuff myself. And then just the way I show up is just naturally going to be different, although it still takes a lot of intention. What's your experience with that?
Gosh, that is so wise and just 100% true. Like, really, a lot of times as I reflected on this parenting from fear, like, what was I afraid of? It had to do with my own fears, often about myself as a
Yes.
parent, as
Yes.
myself as a woman, recognizing like that's not her thing, that's your thing. She's not
Yeah.
she's not scared of how this looks to the outside world. Amy, that's
Yes.
you,
Yes.
right? That's
Yeah.
you that's afraid of that. For sure, working on yourself as much as you can. I 100% always say, like, really, when you get a teenager, you also might want to get a therapist if you think you need
Yeah.
one. And it's really not because your kids are so hard and you need to work on your kids. It's because you need to work on yourself. And you need to show up in a space even more intentionally because we're also modeling their future adulthood in a whole new way in this time, right? We're modeling that from the moment they're born. But they're really paying attention as teenagers, even as they're acting like they're not, even as they're trying to separate from us, they're also noticing if we stop and say, hey, I don't like how I said that. I'm sorry. That was wrong. That I'm sorry, I was wrong model for them is huge.
Game
But it's
changer.
really hard to do that if you're stuck in a place where you don't apologize, right?
Mhm.
Where you're just
Yeah.
needing to be right. So that was one of the things I had to work on. I can't always be right, not always right. Still hard for me to say, but I know it's true, right? So you are 100% correct. We need to be very intentional about ourselves, figure our own stuff out. And that leaves so much more room for that intentionality and that connection that we're trying to find with our kids.
Oh, I love that. So good. One of the things that you talk about in the book is how to know when and when not to engage with your teens. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's such a good thing to know. Yeah.
Well, that's another one of my big mistakes. Yes. I have all the words and I feel they are very wise, and my children need to hear them immediately upon my thoughts because I can say them just with my words. And oftentimes our
Yeah.
kids have, right? Like, we're so smart. If only they would just do what we said. They need to figure it out for themselves, and they're not always ready to listen. They need the space and time to figure it out for themselves. I spent
Mhm.
way too many minutes of my life on this planet talking to the like a closed door, either like an actual closed door of someone's
Oh,
bedroom,
yeah. Yep.
right?
Mhm.
Or
Yep.
a closed door where it's like their face is like this. I'm just going to sit here and think about something else while this crazy woman tells me all the things. uh, And
At
then
the
I'm
dinner
going to go.
table last night. At the dinner table last night. Yeah. I was the crazy woman. Yeah.
Yes, yes, from coming out of our mouths. It's just a big old waste of energy.
Yeah.
So really waiting for that invitation, asking for that invitation, it will come. Sometimes it will come in
At
really small.
11:30 at night when I'm asleep.
Why? Why is that?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I'm
And you
like
feel
this. I am like this.
I'm
Yes,
like,
I would love
okay, yes,
nothing
let's
more than to talk about this major issue with you.
yes. I'd love
Right.
to go through the book of Genesis with you right now.
This would be an amazing time for that. Right? Yes, it will be on their time. It absolutely will be. Sometimes we can craft it and let them know, like, I would love to talk. Sometimes I do say this to my people if I have to get up early, like, mom wisdom is available to you till 9:30 p.m.
Ooh, I like that.
And
Like
then
that.
unless it's an emergency, we're gonna have to put the brakes on it. But just less of us trying to push in, more of us
Mhm.
looking for that opening. And then when it does come, being ready. Kids have said things to me off the cuff where I'm like, okay, well, apparently we're talking about that now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just being really ready, even in the middle of the day. The car is a great place for conversations. Texting can also be really good. It's that double-edged sword of getting that texting moment where sometimes they'll kind of talk to you that way, or just being incredibly patient. I have one of mine who's really will only communicate on their terms. That's really it. And I once had to wait a solid year to find out why they had to break up with somebody, like a year. And I just
Yeah.
had to make my peace with it. The more I would try to ask and talk and push, the more they just weren't talking to me about anything at all, right? Nothing, because I just was shutting down everything. So it was just, is now a good time? No. Okay, great. Do you want to just hang out? Do you want to, just talking about nothing, or just becoming as interested as we can be in what's interesting to them. So I always say, like, this kid loved cars when he was little. I knew the name of every car in the Cars movie. We owned them all. I could play cars like a champ, and now still loves cars. I am learning like the label to cars as they drive by us, right? So entering their world and being a part of it so that you are just talking about normal things. Every talk doesn't have to be like they see you coming and they're like, all right, now what's
She's
that?
coming to coach me.
She's coming to coach me. What have I done? What tip am I gonna get today? Right?
Yeah.
We want to just be in relationship with them. And then it becomes just a natural thing to be talking about all the things instead of just those times where we're kind of pushing into their space. But if the door is closed, just respect. respect their space. We don't want to be talked to at certain times either, right? So just waiting and having that more natural, those natural times come up. And sometimes, yeah, we have to be really, really patient. I was really
I
happy when I found that
was
out. A year later, I was so happy. I was like, that is the hot goss I've been waiting for. Really long.
honestly, I think I struggle with that so much. I do not like it when she wants to be mad at me and I want to like
Mhm.
literally fix it as fast as possible. And yeah. And so I'm like, are you ready? I'm ready. And she's like, just give me time. I'm not ready yet.
No, and she
But I,
has to be mad at you for a while. Like that's part of the separation. That was really hard for me to get used to. That hits my heart because I wanted to fix it and have us always be in harmony.
yeah, me too.
No, there will be. It's a very disharmonious time. I would say
Yeah.
unharmonious.
Yeah.
Not sure today. Literacy coach. It's one or the other. But it
Yeah.
is. It's just fraught with times where they just need to hate you. Like,
Yeah.
okay, they
And
just do.
knowing that
Yeah.
and just naming it and recognizing it, I think is so helpful.
You're still a delight. You're still lovely. You're doing all the right things. And everybody else loves you. And she
Yeah.
does too, right way down
Yeah.
deep inside. But
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
like therapeutic for her to hate you for a little bit of time. So you're just like giving her her little therapy moment and she'll come back.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, she always does, right? Like touch wood. But
Yeah. I love what you say about also like being interested in what they're interested in. I think that has been something that the fabulous Bob Goff imparted that wisdom in his books and just like I think he talked to us about that here too, like connecting with them and the things that they're interested in. Like my kids were wanting to go to the movies and see this Despicable Me 4, and I was like, I'd rather do anything than go to the
oh my
movies
gosh,
and watch
wait.
Despicable Me 4. I
Did you
mean,
see it?
We
I have to do that this
did.
weekend. Is it okay?
It was so nice. And
Okay,
but
good.
what it
I'm
yeah,
what it but what it took for me, I mean, this was like an active thing I was moving into. Like I was grateful that it wasn't like some Marvel movie. No offense to all the Marvel movie lovers out
I
there.
tapped
Like
I
I
tapped
would
out of those.
I would be like,
me
I'll
too.
drop you off and I'll sit in the lobby and like I'll wait for you when it's over. But at least it's just people me before. I was like, the minions are cute. Anyway, like, okay, Ray, this is something I get to go do with them. They're inviting me to come along.
Yeah.
One,
Yeah.
Correct.
16, 14, I mean, but 10 he needs me there.
That's
But yeah, it is. And it
that's so
was
true.
this like this kind of like pep talk of like, this is something that I get to do. They're all at, wait a minute, do I have all three of my kids together in a place doing something? Yes, we're watching a movie, but it doesn't matter. Like,
Doesn't matter.
and because I was able to kind of like shift it in that moment, it was this experience of like, I really enjoyed that movie. It was really funny.
Love it.
And yeah, I can experience this great wisdom. But I'm also reminded of like how great wisdom is only experienced truly once we like apply it. And I'm grateful for these experiences that then allow me to try that and then
Absolutely.
be affirmed that that is, you're reminding me of these things that I need to know and keep being open to, which is awesome.
Awesome. Yep. That's a great example. I think that we can hold on to too, just when in those moments where we're kind of like, this just does not sound like my cup of tea, but you're with them and that's your cup of tea.
Yeah.
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 It's so true. So true. Can you talk to us about what to do when your teen starts questioning their faith?
Yes, that's a hard one, a very tricky one.
Mm.
We are a family that goes to church on Sundays. We go to the same church as my extended family. We meet my mom and dad at church every Sunday, which is lovely. Just so, and that was me. Like I didn't go through. I went through church all through college, all through my married life. I was the person bringing my friends to church, so it was very unexpected that I would birth children who wouldn't do the exact same thing. But
Yeah.
mine have not, right? They are large questioners of so many things. We've had a lot of conversation. And I would say the biggest things that have really been impactful here have been listening to their questions and allowing all questions. God is big enough for all their questions. So whatever they're asking, we entertain, we talk about, we research, we move through, and sometimes we don't agree, and that's fine. We need to leave this space for us all to have our own walk with God, and that comes outside of church, really largely. But ideally, I want them to have a community that they're able to attend and that will help to strengthen their faith. We're very lucky with the church we go to. Our kids really like the community. They like the priest. It's been wonderful. He's great with the young adult population. So we have been very blessed. And I would say that's crucial. If you want your kids to be going to church with you, you need to be finding a space where they all feel welcome and in whatever way that is for your family. So we've been able to do that, which has been key. For us, they do get the choice once they're an adult, whether they go or not. And so as you can imagine, so that's 18. Confirmation is 18. So we had this drop off, of course, where it's like, I don't have to go to church anymore. And they sleep in and we all leave without them. They're invited every Sunday. A lot of times my mom or dad will invite them, which is really helpful. Sometimes they'll show up for extended family. And I kind of rode that out. And I'm on the other side of that now with the 24-year-old. And guys, she was the one who was like out immediately, right? She's living home right now. And we were leaving for church and out she came from her room, all dressed and ready to go. And you could have knocked me over. I want to go to church with you guys. Well, of course she was way too late. So I was like, well, you're too late. We're about to walk out the door. I'm like, no, was that on purpose? Was it not? Well, we had to go. So we left. I came back and she said, well, what did you think about that sermon? She had watched church online. I can't even giving her that space and allowing her to come back on her terms.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crucial. We can force it, but if we're forcing them, they don't really have a relationship with God. And we're actually pushing them away because we're trying to do our earthly relationship with God that we want them to have, as opposed to that heavenly relationship with God he wants them to have. So we just have to leave all the space and trust there. And it's a nightmare at times. It would just made me feel so many times going to church without all 5 of my kids just made me feel horrible. I want them all there. We've got kids that our middle kids come sporadically. They bring their significant others. Sometimes we have pews that are completely full. One of our daughters brought her boyfriend who has never, ever gone to church. And he had this outsider's perspective on the beauty that he saw there of community. So it was all those things are just these beautiful moments I couldn't have orchestrated, but that help our kids see us all in different lights. So letting that go and letting it be what it was, while still my 14-year-old and my now 17-year-old attend with us every single Sunday because that's what we do. So sometimes we have a full pew, sometimes we don't. And my hope is that they find their place ultimately within that.
Yeah. I love that so much. I feel so grateful for you, Amy. I just feel like now we have this amazing gal who's just walked this road ahead of us and can tell us all the things.
Trying, friends. I'm trying. I'm just out here making all the mistakes and then I can just yell back. Okay, don't do this.
Please. I love it. I love it so much.
And Chrissy, I love how it always comes back to curiosity, no matter what we're
Yeah.
talking about, right? Like it always just comes back. I mean, you said that early on, Amy, like the just bringing curiosity to something, asking questions instead of like talking to. I mean, that's what we do as coaches with clients. Like we're asking questions. We're not, we're not sitting there like giving this very prescriptive, like it's asking questions. It's being curious about them, engaging and building that connection and that trust and walking alongside them. Just like, I mean, I'm like having all of these like, oh yeah, ahas with the many ways we do this in our lives. Yeah. Thanks for the reminder of that.
So good.
Can you tell us the 3 vital things that we should remember with raising teens? Snacks, I think you said, and what are the other ones?
I just missed what you said.
Snacks, sleep, and
snacks, shower, and sleep.
Yeah.
Just the trifecta, just like when they were little, right? You very much can lean into how you parented them when they were 2, right?
I love that.
You really can. I mean, last night I bought some kind of, I don't even know, new cracker. This weird little cracker. They were all pumped. Everyone's out eating this cracker. This sandwich crackers from Aldi. I was like, see, it's the power of the snack. It was a new snack for them, apparently. And we were all out just having the best time, rating the crackers. Snacks at any moment when they're down to, when they come in and they're just grouchy, like just push a snack at them. Like, I'm going to suggest you eat this real quick. Always sleep, always naps. Showers are revitalizing. For us too. Same.
I was going to say for us or for them, but both.
It's really both. It's really both. 100%. Maybe that's just a human one, right? But it deeply applies to teenagers.
I'm also thinking about like how we as parents can have a plan. Like we can have a plan. This is what it's going to look like, right? Like this is what our parenting journey is going to be. This is how they're going to turn out. I mean, we can have all of these plans in our life or whatever it is. This is the plan for how I'm going to do my freedom from alcohol journey, of how I'm going to start this. I have this plan, and plans are great, but plans don't always go according to plan. So many things have influenced that plan. So like being prepared, having snacks for like being prepared for those moments being prepared for the questions that they may ask if you're providing that space for them to ask the hard questions in the middle
Yep.
of Target or wherever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not being caught off guard, but being prepared for those moments. Just like we do in the Freedom from Alcohol journey. It's the same thing, being prepared. Like, what am I going to drink instead of the glass of wine? It takes so much attention and it takes so much intention. And I guess that's where I also come back to like all of the distractions that we have out there as moms and women and sisters and friends and all of the things. What are some of your favorite ways of minimizing those distractions so that you can stay intentional and prepared, so to speak, for those opportunities that are most important?
I think really just being open to being caught off guard, making your peace with that is a
Hmm.
part of it, and not getting thrown. Like at first, I always felt like I needed to be like, oh, I need a minute. I got to think about that, or I need to prepare, or I need to. Oh, this isn't a good time. It's always a good time. That's life, right?
Mm.
Life is never going to be calm. So if you can make your peace with that, and just know it at any moment, your teenager is going to call you or text you and be like, "Mom?" question mark. And at the other end of that is like, "Can I have money for Culver's?" Or "I just got in a car accident," or you just don't know. It could be or X, Y, and Z. It can be just like a little question or catastrophe. Just make your peace so that you can stay real steady, and that's a big one. Another that just is practical in our own homes, and I know people say this a lot, but I feel it bears repeating, is just cutting down on your own social media, phone, computer.
Okay, Amy, I
I
hear
know it's
you.
I just leaned in real heavy for 48 hours, and my heyday farm looks amazing. So I will tell you that what you do as I say, not as I do. But
So true.
trying to follow the same rules you'd like them to follow. We do all the same, putting down our phones at the same time, asking them. Sometimes I say to my kids, I can't stop playing on my heyday farm. Can you help me? Let's all put our phones down. But trying to stay as present as possible. It's very easy to get lost in that
Yeah,
without meaning
it
to.
is. It is.
Wait,
Yeah.
can you, sorry, I want to know exactly what that looks like. So when you say you all put your phones on at the same time, do you have designated times of the day where they just all go away?
I've done it so many different ways, and it really has been, it changes with the ages that they are. When they were younger, we did have a bin that we all would put them in for a certain amount of time during the day. And when I say younger, I would say even 16 and below, when everyone was 16 and below. 17 and 18 got a little harder. Now I've got these, fully baked adults. I've got all 5 kids are homeless. Summer, you guys. So it's a thing. But there are actually, my older kids are swinging back. This generation is 24 and or 23 and 21-year olds are really swinging back to less technology. So they're great harbingers for our younger kids of saying, put it
That's
down. You don't
amazing.
want to be scrolling.
Yay.
So that has actually been really wonderful for me. But yes, you can, whatever works for your family. I'm a big fan of the family meeting, and we will sit down and we'll say, here's what's happening. Technology use is out of control for me, for you, for all of us. What should we do? Help them make plans and figure out how they're going to disconnect, because it's different for everybody. My boys like to game. My girls are maybe really actually on with friends. I don't ever want to cut off their ability to be social
Mhm.
at those ages. So it's a line that you really need to walk with the individual kid. Really, it's so different for each one. So blanket rules really stopped working after a while. But I have a kid who routinely takes her socials off. I have another kid who grounds herself from games, or only gives herself games if she does X, Y, and Z. Uh,
Yeah.
we don't give. Our 14-year-old gets completely way less technology than his oldest sister did at 14. He gets nothing, and he has a phone that he can call from and message from and play some Simpsons game that he likes on it. Otherwise, that's it. He doesn't have access to the internet or anything at all on his own. So we've really cracked it down and made it less appealing as well for the younger kiddo. Lucky him.
But yeah, but that's so good. And that is so cool that your older ones are like recognizing that this is something that needs to be looked at. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's so good. I feel like this is usually beadline. I feel like we need to have you back to talk
I would
about
love to.
technology.
I didn't even say what time it is.
Social
Oh yeah, I
media.
think I have another one at 11, so I've got it.
Okay.
That's a lot to
Okay.
say.
Well, but
I've lost track of
okay.
time. This has
So
been so much fun.
yeah, me too. Okay, you guys, the book is You'll Make It and They Will Too, everyone. Everything no one talks about parenting your teens. Can you please give us a tiny Tina, a tiny new action for our audience? Mine is gonna be go get this book, you guys. But what's yours, Amy?
I think that's a great one. I would say do that one. And then look for just one way in this next week that you can connect really intentionally with your teen, whether that means stepping out of parenting in fear and into connection, or just deeper in connection. You guys said so many great things. Any place that you can find that you can build that relationship through connection, and just then pat yourself on the back for doing it.
I love that. I love that so much. Can you please tell everyone where they can find you? And we will link everything in the show notes as well.
You bet. You can find me at my website. It's just amybettersmidtvedt.com, and all the book ordering information's on there. There's a page too if you're looking for someone to come and speak. I'm taking speaking engagements now for the next year. Facebook, I'm on there a lot. Instagram, I'm on there a lot. My kids are really trying to get me on TikTok, you guys. You can go look at my really embarrassing TikTok presence right now that they tell me is a little cringy, but they're going to help me. So you can just stay tuned for like me to explode on TikTok in some really cool way that I don't understand yet.
I love that.
Amazing.
I would also love to have you come back and talk to our community. We do masterclasses within our BJDW community. So let's talk about that too, because that'd
be amazing.
So amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you,
Thank
Amy.
you, Amy.
It was so much fun.
It was so great to meet you.
So much fun.
Likewise. Likewise. Go get the book, everyone.
Yes.
We will see you next Monday.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, friend.
Thank you so much for joining us again this week. You can find all of our episodes at butjesusdrinkwine.com, and be sure to follow us over on Instagram, Love Life Sober, and I'm Not Sober, I'm Free.
To learn more about what we do, you can visit our websites, meethollandshirley.com and lovelifesober.com.
Take a screenshot of this podcast and share it with a friend or two.
And don't forget to subscribe to our pod so you don't have to worry about missing a single episode. And if you love what we're doing, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify.
This helps more women who are feeling stuck and alone in the overdrinking cycle find hope and encouragement.
Thanks, ladies. We so appreciate you, and we'll see you next Monday.